Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. I read 5 books this month and one volume of manga. I'm just gonna get started. The first book that I finally finished this month was Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. This is the story of a boy named Worsley. One day he's working on his goat farm, and this random fairy comes up to him and is like, "Oh, you're the chosen one." And he's like, "Oh great, what am I chosen for?" "I don't know, you're just chosen for something." He meets a weird group of characters, including one of his goats that the fairy had put a spell on to make him talk. There's a peculiar dark lord, an assassin who's afraid of chickens, a fighter who wears a chainmail bikini, and a bard who has been turned into a very cute animal. And I will say I found this book very charming. There were some moments that were very funny to me. I think this is very charming. I know there's a sequel coming out for this book next year, and I will say, since humor is very much subjective thing, I will say this: if you are not a fan of puns, this is not your book. This is not the book for you. The next book I read was one that I had read for class, Censorship and Literature, which is this month. They had one of the books we were assigned was The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This book, I was actually very glad they made us watch the movie for this first and then made us read the book. The movie actually had made the experience of the book actually a lot easier for me to read, and I will say I can understand why people say this is one of their favorite books of all time. I very much enjoyed it. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. But this is the story of a boy named Charlie who is kind of dealing with the fact that one of his friends had just recently killed himself, and he is facing high school basically on his own. But then he is adopted by by one of the seniors and kind of taken under his wing, and then also starts to hang out with him and his sister, and kind of shows like the need for belonging and kind of how Charlie begins to grow with this group of people. The next book I had also read for this class was a little heavier than The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and that is Winter Girls by Laurie Halse Anderson. And this is the story about Leah, her former best friend had just killed herself. But the only thing is that before she died, Cassie had tried to call Leah. Leah had a ton of missed calls from Cassie, clearly that she didn't want to do it but wanted the support of her former best friend. And Leah is having her own struggle as well with dealing with an eating disorder, and both she and Cassie both had eating disorders of their own, and how that kind of was something that they bonded over. Leah's struggle with her eating disorder, along with the struggle of just losing her best friend and wondering if it was her fault, if there was something she could have done differently. Oh my gosh. I got through it very quickly, but it was a hard book to read at times. I felt like it really gets into the head of somebody with anorexia. The one thing that I was hoping that this book would very much address that I feel like is overlooked, but this book focuses on the aspect of control. That a person who is suffering from anorexia has a strong desire to gain control in some way, shape, or form. And usually it is control over their own body, over their own needs. And I was very glad this book addressed it. I would also very much highly recommend this book. But on that note, I will also say there are some very graphic scenes in here and some things that are probably very hard for a person to read who has been suffering these kind of thoughts. And there are also scenes that feature self-harm and, again, suicide. The other book that I finally finished this month was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This was a very, very enjoyable read. I have not finished the adaptation. I'm kind of regretting that. I'm hoping I will get to it at some point, but I think I will continue with the trilogy, and maybe I think this is a very cute little guilty pleasure read for me. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And my graphic novel read for this month was the second volume of Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. And last but not least, the last book that I read for this month that I am so glad I finally managed to finish was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Oh my gosh. I loved this book so much. This is the story about a young thief named Vin who she finds out that she has the ability to burn metals to access special ability. She's what is known as a Mistborn, so she has access to all of the metals and all of the abilities that come with them, which makes her very rare. And she's been recruited by a group of people who are looking to take down the tyrannical ruler of their country that has ruled over their land for about 1,000 years. The characters in this book are amazing. The world was so investing. There were turns in here that I wasn't expecting. I was crying at 4 a.m. when I was reading this book, and I'm so glad I have the other two on my shelf currently, and I cannot wait to continue this. I am also hoping that from the little ad I saw on here, I would like to actually maybe see if I can pick up the tabletop game for this book series after I finish reading the trilogy. I would like to play it, and honestly I wouldn't mind showing that on this channel if you guys don't mind. This was a solid 5 out of 5 stars for me. Mr. Sanderson, you've made a very good first impression on me, and I hope it continues, and I hope I continue to be blown away by some of your other books. Okay, those were all the books that I read for the month of September, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.